Hi, George Schneider, back again with another view of Common Sense Gresham. Last time we gave you a brief introduction and overview about what we're going to do here, which is basically to look at governmental processes and see where there's common sense and where there isn't any. But first we have to look at how our examination is constructed. So let's look at a few principles of common sense. The one I like to list first and foremost is the KISS principle, K-I-S-S. If you've heard of this before, you know it means keep it simple, stupid. No, I'm not trying to insult you, and I didn't invent that. Keeping it simple helps us with another principle, cut to the chase. That principle says skip all of the window dressing and look at the reason we're concentrating on a subject. The Common Sense Gresham project will always cut to the chase. In my introduction, I mentioned that I'm a big fan of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This maxim means that some things just don't need improvement, and work to give them improvement, that is, on an already workable process, is usually just wasted work. Now, government is composed, for the most part, of smart people. Smart people don't do work if it doesn't benefit them. If the process is already workable for the citizens, then the smart people must be changing it to benefit themselves, not the citizens. Another principle we're going to look at, well, two more of them actually, are whose turf are you on? Or whose rice bowl are you breaking? They're buzz phrases, yes, but we deal with them because the answers to those two questions often reveal right up front whether common sense is in play in a process or whether that process has been seized to make it more devious. Most of us realize that turf protection is, or protection of spheres of influence, I should say, is a primary motivation of politicians and bureaucrats. But when common sense butts heads with turf protection, a rice bowl, that is, a pot of influence, is often at risk, and it may get broken. Hence, whose rice bowl are you breaking? This is why common sense is not the go-to solution for all governmental questions. And it's frequently a last resort, if it's considered at all. Then we look at how is common sense itself best expressed. There are several ways to look at it, and I didn't invent any of these, but the first one is something called the principle of parsimony. This has been around since ancient times. If you're technically inclined, the principle of parsimony is often expressed as something known as Occam's razor. What Occam's razor says is that the best way to look at a process is that example that uses the least steps to get at the core questions of the process. In other words, the simplest way to look at things is the best. And that's what we're after with Common Sense Gresham. We believe that the simple way to do governmental function is the best. And if it can't be explained in simple terms, the reason it can't be explained in simple terms reveals things that are not good for the citizens. And this is where we come in with Common Sense Gresham. We're here to help government discover its simple roots. Or maybe I should say rediscover, because when government started, it was simple. The people wanted it that way, and they insisted on it that way, all the way back to our founders. The reason that government has gotten away from that has to do with government perpetuating itself. And that's not why we consent to be governed. We consent to be governed because it's necessary. When it's necessary, we get it done in the simplest way possible. Stay tuned for more. Next, we're going to get into some actual examples. Thank you.